The Cold War, 1947. The Cold War, a period of geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union, shaped the latter half of the 20th century. Spanning from the end of World War II to the early 1990s, this era was marked by political rivalry, military standoffs, and ideological battles that influenced global affairs for decades. Join us as we explore the key events and turning points that defined the Cold War, from the Berlin Blockade to the Cuban Missile Crisis and beyond. The Cold War's origins can be traced back to the aftermath of World War II, as Europe lay in ruins. Two superpowers emerged: the capitalist United States and the communist Soviet Union. Winston Churchill famously described the division of Europe as an iron curtain descending across the continent. This division marked the beginning of a geopolitical struggle for influence and control, with the Eastern Bloc under Soviet domination and the Western nations aligning with the United States. One of the first major crises of the Cold War was the Berlin Blockade. In 1948, the Soviet Union blocked all ground routes into West Berlin, attempting to force the Allies out of the city. In response, the Western Allies launched the Berlin Airlift, a massive operation to supply the city's residents by air. For nearly a year, planes delivered food, fuel, and other essentials, demonstrating the Allies' commitment to defending West Berlin. The blockade was lifted in 1949, but the events solidified the division of Berlin and symbolized the broader East-West conflict. The Cold War soon spread beyond Europe. In 1950, the Korean War erupted when North Korean forces, backed by the Soviet Union and China, invaded South Korea. The United States and its allies intervened under the banner of the United Nations to repel the invasion. The conflict saw intense fighting and significant casualties, ultimately resulting in a stalemate and the establishment of the Korean Demilitarized Zone (DMZ). The Korean War was a critical early test of Cold War tensions, demonstrating the willingness of both superpowers to engage in proxy wars. The Cuban Missile Crisis in October 1962 brought the world to the brink of nuclear war. When American reconnaissance discovered Soviet missiles in Cuba, President John F. Kennedy demanded their removal and imposed a naval blockade. For 13 days, the world held its breath as the superpowers engaged in intense negotiations. Ultimately, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev agreed to remove the missiles in exchange for U.S. pledge not to invade Cuba and the secret removal of American missiles from Turkey. The Cuban Missile Crisis was a pivotal moment in the Cold War, highlighting the dangers of nuclear brinkmanship and leading to increased efforts at arms control. The Vietnam War was another significant conflict in the Cold War era, with the United States attempting to prevent the spread of communism in Southeast Asia. The protracted and brutal war resulted in immense suffering and ultimately saw the withdrawal of American forces in 1973. The war deeply divided American society, led to widespread protests, and raised questions about U.S. foreign policy. The fall of Saigon in 1975 marked the end of the war and the unification of Vietnam under communist control. Despite the ongoing conflicts, the Cold War also saw periods of détente, relaxation of tensions, and significant achievements, such as the space race. Both superpowers competed fiercely to achieve milestones in space exploration, culminating in the U.S. landing on the moon in 1969. The 1970s saw important arms control agreements, including the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks and the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty, reflecting a mutual interest in reducing the risk of nuclear conflict. The final decade of the Cold War was marked by significant changes. The election of Ronald Reagan in the U.S. and the rise of Mikhail Gorbachev in the Soviet Union brought new dynamics to the East-West relationship. Gorbachev's policies of glasnost openness and perestroika restructuring aimed to reform the Soviet system, while Reagan's aggressive stance and strategic defense initiatives pressured the Soviet economy. The symbolic fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the subsequent collapse of communist regimes across Eastern Europe signaled the end of Soviet dominance. By 1991, the Soviet Union itself dissolved, marking the official end of the Cold War. The Cold War was a complex and multifaceted conflict defined by ideological struggles, military confrontations, and moments of profound change. Its legacy continues to influence global politics and international relations to this day. By understanding the key events and turning points of the Cold War, we gain insight into how this period shaped our modern world and the lessons it offers for the future. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. Please like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of pivotal moments in history.